In accordance with the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, this channel is not to be viewed by children under the age of 13. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey everybody, Tranky Mark here, and welcome back to Let's Play Shadowrun Hong Kong. Last we left off, we spoke with Shen and learned a bit more about his group. We spoke with Tenarm Ambrose and tried to get a little bit more information about his life. Didn't work. And we spoke to the COPPA family and tried to keep them all together. Hopefully it works. And if you're also wondering if my voice sounds a little different, well, I'm trying out the headset that I use on my desktop as a microphone set instead. Hopefully it works well. Hopefully you all enjoy it. Let's get to it. Let's go talk to Racter, 'cause we have a little something to talk with him about. The air in Racter's shop is ripe with the stench of old metalworking fluids. He turns to face you, a burning cigarette clenched between his teeth. Sorry about the smell. It's long past time to approach the coolant sump. He frowns. If I had access to the proper equipment, this would not be a problem. I could clean the fluid and reuse it, but alas, halogen treatment chambers are rather hard to come by, even in a place like Hoi. He shakes his head as if to clear it. Anyway, my friend, you didn't come here to discuss the ins and outs of shop maintenance, I'm sure. So what brings you down here? I might as well ask this. Ah. So yeah, he wasn't here. We were basically going to ask about his vision of the future, or rather the drone self-repair system. Be my guest. He tilts his head in acquiescence. Be my guest. I have no secrets to keep. About the drone self-repair system that you invented, how did it work? There were three distinct elements to my approach. When these elements were all working in concert, prototypes that utilized the process displayed remarkable self-repair capabilities. This may be a lengthy explanation. I could skim over it if you please, or I can break it down for you if you're generally interested. Give it a long version. I want to know how this process of yours works. He shifts a cigarette to the corner of his mouth. Very well, the long version it is. The first element of my process was an outer skin that the drone could be wrapped in, a refinement of older biomimetic self-healing materials, modeled to emulate the self-repair capabilities of living beings. Imagine a polymer composite interlaced with microtubules, capillaries, if you will. These vessels are capable of delivering bonding agents to the site of a wound as it occurs, thus healing it. I've heard of some materials that operate on a similar principle. They've been around for decades, haven't they? Yes, though they remained uncommon until recently. As I said, my material was a refinement on those earlier designs. It was also only the first part of his system. The synergy between the three was what made the project work. The second element involved the underlying structure of the drone's architecture, the servos, gears, circuits, etc. Utilizing self-assembly materials and redundant systems, I created a system by which damaged components could be fabricated and replaced by the drone itself, without any need for human interference. Alright, so you have self-healing skin and self-replacing underlying structure. What was the third part? Finally, the system had a magical component. The corner of his mouth dips downward. I must confess a certain degree of ignorance when it comes to this portion of the project. I understand some of the theory behind what was done, but the specifics are beyond me. Tell me what you do know then, where they are rendered negligible. Think of magic as the lubrication that keeps the gears turning. I wish that it weren't necessary, but I am also a realist, and I must confess that it is required for the system to work. And this is the technology that we've recovered on the Ares run? Our own progress, and to steer ourselves as a people in whatever direction we wish. Consider, my friend, every aspect of Koshie was tailor-made for... Dang it. Give me a minute for that to go away. Every aspect of Koshie was tailor-made for a purpose, dreamed up, designed, and built by a singular guiding intellect. Alright, keep going. Now think of the circumstances surrounding your own birth, and the building blocks that shaped you into the man you are today. Your mother and father exchanged fluids, sloppily no doubt, and with all the mindless abandon that such biological imperatives entail. Whoa, man, you leave my parents out of this. That might have been the ugliest description of sex I've ever heard. Ugly perhaps, but accurate. Sexual intercourse is an inarticulate process, a messy delivery system for genetic material spurred on by hormones and base urges. Any attempt to guide the process on a societal level gets branded eugenics and decried as monstrous, for obvious reasons. But I digress. The point I was making was that the forces that shaped you and me and anyone else you care to mention were ultimately mindless ones, blind, manipulative biological drives that led a sperm and an egg to collide. Add in a roll of the dice and a dash of Mendelian genetics, and here you are. The natural processes of evolution and sexual selection guide the development of our species through trial and error. Throw a few billion darts at the wall and see what sticks. In the future that I foresee, this process will be reined in, guided by our own controlling intellects. To co-opt an antiquated phrase, the myth of intelligent design will become a reality, but we will be our own gods, reshaping ourselves as we see fit. Tell me again, how does this have to do with posthumanism? Step back for a moment and imagine a future in which we have fully integrated with machines. Really imagine it. There will be no niche we cannot fill. We can guide our own evolution, tailor ourselves to whatever environment we see fit. We will no longer be slaves to the selective processes that have dictated our development since time immemorial. So essentially, you want us to be... what? Robots? No. I suspect that there must always be some biological component to metahuman life. A degree of randomness, the possibility of mutation. These are good things, and even if we could shed them entirely, I suspect that we shouldn't. What I desire is a truer fusion of man and machine. His eyes flip to Koshie. The drone takes a step forward in response. Modern cybernetic systems tend to be in iterations on the biological components that they replace. There are exceptions, of course. There is no analog for the data jack in nature, but on the whole, our imagination has been depressingly limited in this regard. In the future that I foresee, we will abandon this restrictive mentality and open our eyes to newer, more exciting possibilities. Bodies reshaped to thrive in the deep ocean and the depths of space. Bodies inspired by nature or the human imagination, or both. Bodies that can be used and used again, inhabited as their wearers see fit. The timely realization of such a future is what drives me forward. It is the cause to which I have devoted my life, and thankfully it is inevitable. He tips a cigarette, setting ash spilling down onto the metal floor. Assuming, of course, that we don't destroy ourselves first. There's a hard limit to the fusion of man and machine. Doesn't your vision of the future require us to get past that? You're speaking of the essence limit and the problems associated with essence loss. He releases a plume of smoke from the corner of his mouth. Yes, of course, it will be a problem, but as with all problems, a workaround will present itself. Of this I am certain. What workaround? Essence loss will always be a problem. To deny that would be wishful thinking. Always is a dangerous word, my friend. I would encourage you to broaden your thinking. I am confident that you will reach the same conclusion on your own. For the time being, let us leave the matter at that. So in this post-human future that you're trying to bring about, what role will a drone like Koshie play? A similar one to the role that he plays now, I imagine. It was designed for a purpose after all. That said, I can see the techniques that went into its design and fabrication having much broader ranging applications. You're pretty attached to that drone of yours, aren't you? You even assigned it a gender. You keep calling it him. Yes, of course. Koshie is very close to me. As if on cue, the drone scuttles forward, the hardening tips of its claws screeching across the metal floor of the shop. It comes up short just in front of you, a strange mechanical chitter rising from deep within its chassis. You might accuse me of anthropomorphizing my little companion, assigning human characteristics to him when in fact there are none. Truth be told, there is much more to Koshei than meets the eye, but that is a different conversation, one best suited to be held for another time. Why not? Why? Why not talk about it now? Because I have work to do, and I am sure that you can find better uses for your time than listening to me prattle on. He gestures toward the hatch in the ceiling, and with that, I'm afraid that I must ask you to show yourself out. We can continue our talk at a later time. Alright, Racter, we'll talk later. He turns away. Good night. Let's speak to him again. Racter's shop is curiously silent. As you step down onto the greater metal floor, the sound of your own footsteps reverberates throughout the echo chamber of the converted engine room. Welcome back, my friend. He leans against his desk. Is there something I could do for you? Quiet night in the shop, huh? Yes, a quiet night. He takes a drag on a cigarette, one best suited for contemplation, planning, and visions of the future. Care to pick up where we left off last time? His smile widens, light gleams off the strong, sharp teeth, lending him a predatory appearance. If you like. I must confess, I have rather enjoyed our talks. It is good to have a sounding board to bounce ideas off of. Agreed. Our talks have been pleasant in an academic sense. Glad to hear that we're on the same page. He takes a drag on a cigarette. I must confess, I sometimes forget how to interact with others. I am by nature a solitary creature. It is good to have a kindred spirit, someone whom I can understand on a team. Koshei goes forward, mechanical pediplops weaving. Its motions are as alien and charged with menace as they've ever been. Racter glances at the machine and it takes a step back. He clasps his hands together and rubs them briskly. So, my friend, you had questions for me. Go ahead and ask them. Please, I will answer whatever I can. You said that you sometimes forget how to interact with other people? An idiosyncrasy of mine, I suppose. When I get lost in my own head, relating to others becomes difficult. He smiles apologetically. It's nothing personal. Just a quirk I had occasionally struggled to hide. Visitor from another planet, like I can barely remember how to talk. That is the feeling, yes. You summed it up quite nicely. The last time we talked, you hinted at Koshei being special in some way. I want to hear the full story. Yes, I figured that you might. Tell me, have you noticed anything unusual about Koshei in the time that we've worked together? It feels like he acts without you. Explained. Racter looks at the drone, his head cocked. Then he turns his gaze to you. His behavior is not drone-like because he is not a drone, at least not in a way that you would understand. He is a prosthesis. Explain. The principle is very simple. You can think of him as a cyberlimb, if you will. We may be separated by distance, but he is joined to me as surely as a replacement leg is to its wearer. Hang on. You're telling me that you're always rigged into your drone? Not on a conscious level, no. But subconsciously, yes. There's a constant two-way stream of data flowing between my brain and his systems. When he takes his steps, I can feel it as a tingle in my spine. When he tears into flesh, I feel the satisfaction. We are a single entity in two bodies, metal and flesh made one. You're gonna have to explain that. Sounds like my mom messed up. Koshei acts as a home for my primal animal impulses, the id, to use Freud's structural model of the psyche. The analytical portions of my mind, the ego and superego, live on in me. They govern the id, and by extension, Koshei's behavior. When we are on a run and I rig into Koshei, I do not command him to attack. Rather, I loosen my grip on his reins and allow him to kill. He wants to hunt, to dominate, to bathe himself in blood. Reproduction would also be a drive if such a thing were possible. How can a drone have those sorts of instincts? He doesn't. They are my instincts, streamed to him on a continual basis. They lend him a semblance of life, albeit one driven entirely by my reptile brain. If the stream were interrupted by my death, say, or a malfunctioning data jack, Crochet will fall as lifeless as any other machine. But barring such an interruption, he will remain a part of me. One day, perhaps I will perfect him, and a part of me will live on in his chassis after the meat of my body dies. But for now, I am satisfied to live with him as a combined entity, man and machine joined through a form of neural parabiosis into a single being. A beautiful step into a post-human future. I guess I've had to know a mad scientist, and I'm glad that he's on my side. He snickers. Well said, my friend. And the feeling is mutual, if I must associate with violent criminals, as well as that I'm happy to call them friends. Okay, so you've rigged your drone to act as a home to your most destructive impulses. I've got to ask, why? As a proof of concept primarily, there are other advantages, of course. I shouldn't have to explain the value of a combat drone that wants to kill. Tell me why you think we're going to beat the essence limit. You hinted at it before, but I want to know. I could do that. I have already shared quite a lot with you, and you haven't run off screaming. A good sign, I should think. He studies your face, peering at you through the gloom. But tell me, Sangshan, are you certain that you want to know? Some secrets are less pleasant than others. You might prefer to leave this stone unturned. I want to know whatever you have to tell me, Racter. I don't run from things because they're unpleasant. Very good. There are things that you don't know about me, my friend. Important things. What kind of things? For one, I am not, how to put it, whole. Emotionally, you mean? Mentally? There are arguments that could be made to support both of those positions, but no, that wasn't what I meant. I'm talking about my physical body. There was an accident when I was young. A shop accident. I barely survived it. I am heavily cybered, my friend. You wouldn't know it because I keep my enhancements hidden. Others have found them disturbing in the past. Disturbing? How so? The enhancements themselves are not the problem. The extent of the damage that they were meant to correct, however, he sighs. That is a different matter. He uses the edge of his hand to trace a line across his hips. Everything below the mid-pelvis is replacement material. That's where I was seared in half, you see. It's a miracle that I survived the experience. The blood loss alone should have killed me. But here I am alive and well, greatly improved in point of fact. Hang on. You lost everything below the hips? Yes, a traumatic loss to be sure, but not so terrible as you might think. By every conceivable measure, I have been improved since the time of the accident. I am more than I was before, no less. You lost half of your body. How could that not be terrible? He taps his temple with a finger. The doctors installed stimulus generators in my brain when they repaired me. With these, I can mimic the full range of sensations that the human body is capable of producing. Imagine the ramifications of such a thing. The things that you could do, the things that you could experience. The implications for operant conditioning alone are staggering. And so, yes, I have lost the entire lower half of my body. The full ramifications of such a loss are obvious. But in return, I have gained so much more. At will, I can goad my brain into producing whatever sensation I wish. I can poke at the wiring of my own consciousness, and I can reroute that wiring as I see fit. Alright, so you're half machine. What does this have to do with the essence limit? He spreads his arms. Look at me, Sangshan. I have a shred of essence left in me, and only barely that. But I suffer none of the ill effects associated with traumatic essence loss. That is how can that be? A quirk of psychology, long viewed as an illness but never properly understood. What I now understand to be an evolutionary adaptation to a post-human future. We will conquer the essence limit, given time. Natural selection will see to it. I am proof. I am the proof. These stimulus generators that you've been implanted with, how do they work? The technology is rather akin to synth sense, but considerably more powerful and flexible. Most SimSense experiences, those found in the BTL chips for example, are structured around basic narratives to provide their users with the context. But if you strip away the veneer of escapist fantasy, what you have left is an extremely powerful toolkit. I've never heard of anything like that on the market, not even in the shadows. I'm not surprised. They're Russian technology, government funded and quite experimental. He sucks on a cigarette, a thoughtful expression on his face. The project was cancelled shortly after I received my implants. Something about graft and corruption on the administrative level. Yeah, another example of good science derailed by bad politics. Have you heard of anyone else who's gotten those implants? I know of a handful of other recipients. From what I've heard, the others were all driven quite mad. To be handed control over the inner workings of one's own brain is a tremendous responsibility. He shrugs. Perhaps the others were less well equipped to handle it than I am. Be careful with those things, Racter. The last thing I need is for you wigging out on me. I have carried these implants for over 20 years, my friend. I know how to handle myself. You have nothing to fear. So what else have you been keeping from me? I know that there's more to the story than this. There is, my friend, but nothing that can't wait till tomorrow. You have a lot to process, I'm sure, and I would like the remainder of the evening to myself. But if you come back later, I will finish the tale. Sure, Racter, we'll talk tomorrow. Very good. Rest well. So yeah, Racter is half man, half machine who can literally spec himself whenever he wants. Yeah, I mean, if there's the poster boy for a post-human future, it's him. That's why I kind of wanted to hold off on talking to Racter until now. He's got a lot to speak about. I really hope that the stream processes after this, because if not, I'm gonna be mad. But I know this is a bit of a short episode and all, but really we don't have much to talk about. We've spoken with everyone else we need to speak to, and Reliable Matthew, the old guys, and Law don't have much to say. So honestly, that's kind of it. I wonder if we can speak to Connie Cheng at some point. We still have to speak with Gaichu anyway, but we gotta do his loyalty mission. But I'm Jan K. Mark, and I'm gonna end it off here for today. This might sound a bit strange, but we're going to be ending it off rather quick today. But next time on Let's Play Shadowrun Hong Kong, we're going to go ahead and handle Gaichu's loyalty mission. Assuming that the stream processed well, we'll probably not have to worry about that, and I can actually do the stream next time. Also, let me know if you guys like the new headset, the new voice. I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but hopefully it is. If you like what you all saw, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell icon to stay notified, and I'll see all of you next time. Laters.